Hey,
Matt,
how you doing?
welcome.
Well, how you
Good.
doing, man?
I'm doing well. Um, Dustin just tried to edge you out here. He requested in on the live video. Um,
Yeah. He tried
I,
giving me $50 to wear his hat during this too. So
I, I had committed to you, so I figured, you know what, we better go with Matt tonight. So, how's it going?
man, it's going good.
And
Staying busy.
it looks like you are either in your shop or else you have a baller living room.
Yeah, lots of Bessies in my living room, man.
So, um, Dustin, by the way, Dustin, do you have your snacks? Everybody set up over there, ready for the party here? Man, we got a good turnout tonight. Welcome, everybody, to the interview with Matt Weber. And there I go. I have to turn that around again real quick. There you go. So I had to get everybody wave at everybody. Hey, Sean is in. Welcome, Sean. Howdy, howdy. We're going to dig in right after I grab my cup of coffee.
Right.
Like, you've got beer and Kit Kats. Good deal.
That I do.
I assume there's got to be some sort of a backstory to that Kit Kat thing that keeps popping up in everything relating to you. Is that like a whole thing with you?
No, I think really just Dustin. He's got a thing with Kit Kats, man.
It's good to know. I'll file that away in my odd facts about Dustin folder. So, yeah, if you've seen a few of these interviews, you know how they go. Basically, I just hand the floor over to you to tell me a little bit about Matt first off, and I'll just barge in at any given moment to ask you questions. Of course, any questions that people watching want to ask, they're welcome to ask.
Ask away.
So just kind of the basics are who you are, where you came from, and why you do what you do. If you can give us the Cliff Notes or long version of that, the floor is yours. Have at it.
Well, I grew up with my dad being in the custom remodeling business, and starting probably when I was about 11 or 12, in between school years, he would make me go to work with him every day for those 3 months.
Yeah.
Swept a lot of floors, swept. So, every year he'd say, "Oh, we're gonna, we'll get you a raise. Come on back."
Mm-hmm.
And as I got into high school, I thought, wow, this is not what I want to do. Want to get a suit and tie job, have a nice easy job. And by the time I got about ready to graduate, I just knew that college was definitely not going to be for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up going to work full time for the company that my dad was. He pretty much was their main foreman, ran everything for them, and just got thrown in there and started learning.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, we decided to leave and actually join a union carpentry company. I left there first. He followed. It just didn't pan out. It wasn't what we thought it was going to be. And he said, "Hey, let's start our own business." So
Mm-hmm.
me and him went in together, and he did all the estimating for quite a while, and all the paperwork, of course. I ran a lot of the jobs for him, and like, you might be surprised, but we did a ton of foundations for quite a few years. Like, I'd say we did probably 75% of our year was just doing foundations. We had our own forms. At the end of the day, you might clean up and go to a house and hang crown mold at the other jobs. So you never knew what was going to happen. And
So how old would you have been around that time once you kind of fired off with your dad on your own?
I would have been 20, I think, is when we started together.
Yeah.
So that lasted up until about 2011. which so basically from 2003 to 2011, we worked together. Slowly kind of phased out of it where he didn't want to show up on the jobs and had me sent out to do the estimating and take care of that stuff for him. And he just got burnt out on it.
Yeah.
And
yep.
he was done with wearing the pouch and dealing with people. And he just said, you know, if you ever want to go and do your own thing, go right ahead. He just wanted to go into his excavation. That's what he loves to do. So that's what he still does, is dirt work.
So did you go off and start Crossgrain then at that point?
Yeah, in 2011, the end of 2011 is when I started Crossgrain LLC, and in 2012 is when right at the beginning of the year is when I jumped into it full time. And I have no employees. It's just me and all the time in the shop when I'm here, and when I'm on the job, it's typically they're small enough where I'm doing any of the interior framing. If it's a small room addition, I've got a guy or two that I can call on and they'll help me get it framed up. But otherwise, then I'll take care of everything from start to finish with all the subs that, and I've got all the same subs I've worked with since I started. So things run pretty smoothly.
Yeah. So what kind of stuff do you self-perform then? Obviously, you do cabinetry and pretty custom-looking woodwork type stuff. What type of trades and odds and ends do you not do?
I do everything on my end, from going to look at the job, trying to make the sale, doing all the estimations on everything. Like I said, if it's the framing, if it's small enough, I'll take care of it myself, or get a friend in to help me do that.
Right.
I don't do the electrical or plumbing. Most of the time, that's all needs a permit anyway where we are, so I need a licensed contractor for those.
Right.
I don't do my own drywall or on-site painting.
Yeah.
I do finish all my cabinetry myself in my shop, but if it's on the job site, my painter's going to take care of that for me. The roofing and HVAC, all that stuff I sub out.
Okay. So what's your kind of focus? Because like you said, it doesn't seem real common to me to see someone that does as much shop work as you apparently do from your Instagram anyway. That's an assumption on my part, but it looks like you do a fair amount of cabinetry building and that kind of thing in the shop. And then it's interesting to see you also, generaling full remodels. That's kind of a rare combination in my experience.
It's definitely tough, especially if it's a kitchen remodel, and it poses a problem. I bring that up front because if I'm going to end up building their full kitchen, I'm 5 weeks out in my shop, and their house is sitting there. So that poses a problem most of the time. Just on that, just for the fact of it, it really stalls things down. But I'm not opposed to them ordering their own cabinets, and that expedites things much quicker to keep the job rolling. But I'd say it fluctuates. Either 65% of the year, it seems like it bounces kind of back and forth. I'm either at a remodel on the job site, or more of the year I'm in my shop making cabinetry or furniture, built-ins, stuff like that. So it fluctuates. I really only do 2 decent room additions or remodels a year, which for one guy, and subbing a lot of the things out, that's typically between a $75,000 to $125,000 interior remodel. I'll do usually 1 to 2 of those a year, with obviously quite a few of them thrown in there in between that are smaller.
Yeah.
Especially for the cabinets.
Yeah. Do you build cabinets for other remodelers and contractors in the area, or all your own work basically?
No, I don't build anything for any contractors. It's all homeowner driven business that that I get. So and I think maybe how many she keeps commenting, how many batteries and levels, enough batteries.
What about levels?
Yeah, I think 43 Stabilas. I think that's what they're wanting to know. But anyway, I think because I am a contractor or a remodeler myself, maybe that's why I don't get those jobs from other contractors. I don't know. I've always wondered myself.
It makes sense. Let's grab that question right there, because that's an interesting one. I'm curious to hear your answer on biggest remodel cost, and actually more interested in the per square foot average. Do you use any per square foot pricing for?
I have never used a square foot pricing ever.
Same here. Yeah.
It's just I think that works with maybe a new home, especially a tract home for sure. Just a cookie cutter house. It seems like those are easy to say a square foot price on, but it's really impossible, I think, to give a square foot price on an interior remodel, especially on an older home. Like most of the ones I'm in, they're all plaster ceilings and walls, and you can't. It's hard to put a square foot price on that.
Yeah, I said like I understand. I really don't understand the whole plaster process and what that would throw at you. But living in the area I live in, we have drywall, and that's it. I mean, nobody plasters around here at all. But I'm sure I do understand the difference between that remodel and new construction. Because I've tried to get to square foot pricing before. Like it'd be handy to people start talking about remodels, but it is so hard to build that spreadsheet out because does it have a bathroom, kitchen, cabinetry, what level of finish is, what size is the addition? There's a difference between a 300 and a 700 square foot addition for price. There's just no way to get to square foot pricing on an addition project. As far as I'm concerned, I'd love to be corrected. I'd love for somebody to show me the formula that you can get to it, but
I'd love to see the formula too myself. That's for sure.
Yeah. I think the danger in the square foot pricing, so I don't know what type of tract home builders you have around there, but there's several tract home builders in this area, Southwest Washington, that advertise per square foot for new construction, and those numbers are always like, they start at like $80 a square foot, which is pretty ridiculous, but $80 to $100 a square foot is what they are talking about for new construction. Well, people are always like, yeah, remodel costs more, so what, $150 a square foot? And I honestly can't think of a remodel project that we've done for under like $300 or $400 a square foot recently. And then part of that's our clientele, but remodel doesn't cost 1.5 times what new construction does. It costs a lot of money to remodel. So that's why I always just try to avoid that square foot number like the plague whenever a client asks for it. Like, I'll let them do the math if they want, divide your square footage by the cost, but I just try to avoid it completely.
I hate when they do that, because they always come up with that huge number, and then they're comparing it to their friend that had a house built, and well, they're only this, and why are we all the way up here? It's risky. Yeah,
and the other thing is they may have just talked to a new construction guys, because new construction guys, this might sound overbearing, like a remodeler against new construction guys, but it seems like new construction guys don't really have a good idea of what
some of these comments.
we got to get to them, so I'm going to wrap my thought quick, and then we're going to get to comments here. But my thought was just that new construction guys don't seem to have a good perception of it, and if you haven't done remodel, you just don't. So they might tell a client, meaning well enough, that $200 a square foot seems like a pretty reasonable price to do this addition project. Until you do your homework, you just can't know that. So when we come in at 300, and that's what it's going to cost, no matter who does it. It's just some misinformation that can be avoided and never save some headache. But okay, let's do some questions here. Okay, where'd your beer go, Matt? Let's get Destin taken care of. And Tommy Construction, shitty, that's what he means. Okay, that's plaster reference, I think. Where are we at? Plaster's no fun. TMQ, come on, we do square foot number checks all the time. Elaborate on that, Chris. I'm curious. Is that a joke, or are you serious? And
if he's serious on a high-end full custom remodel, where you're gutting out, a lot of the house, I would love for you to interview him. That sounds interesting to be able to.
Matt, I have interviewed him. Unfortunately, it's one of the ones that are not up on YouTube, but I'm going to have him back on again because Chris is an awesome guy. So he's one of the list. Yeah. Basically, everybody I've had on already, I want to have back on again. So he's on the list of guys I need to get back on here again and talk with more.
It definitely sounds interesting. I'd love to hear how he comes up with that, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So the OSB looks great again. Okay, and I'm gonna be a little ignorant here. Is it Renee? I hope it's Renee, but she's from Canada, so you never know how they pronounce their names up there. But Renee, tell me if that's how you pronounce your name. Where are we at? CMQ is totally serious.
Okay, the OSB comment, I think she's talking about behind me.
Your panel.
So I put the slick side out so that all the dust would not stick to my walls as bad inside my shop. That's the reason. But yes, I know which way it goes. Thank you.
That's some forethought there. Let's hit Jeremy Cardwell's. How do you feel about Weedy board?
Oh, I have no experience with Weedy board. Okay. Other than what my brother-in-law, A. Walters, flooring, he's used it a few times. I know I think he has a love-hate relationship with that stuff. I don't know anything about it. I really don't.
Cool. Well, might have to get somebody. So last week actually was Zach, and he would probably be the guy to ask about that, Jeremy Cardwell, if you want to know. And he actually just did a fantastic video series on it, on his story, I believe, and maybe on his YouTube channel. So check that out. He had a comparison between Weedy board, Schluter,
interesting,
and one other one. I don't remember what it was. There's Weedy, Schluter, and then there's one other one he did. So it was actually very interesting, which that sounds like I'm surprised. Zach, if you're still watching, I wasn't surprised. All your stuff's interesting. When does the Young Builder Life podcast start?
Yeah, we're all surprised you don't have one yet.
The closest thing to that, so the steps in that direction right now are just getting these things up on the YouTube channel, and we're making progress on that front anyways. As far as the podcast goes, it's still in the discussions amongst myself and a couple of other guys. It's just not very fast progress with how busy my current summer is. So that's the cryptic answer I'm going to leave you with at the moment. Okay, I think they're referring to calculating square foot cost after completion, not in the bidding phase. Yes, that's exactly right. Wow, these things, okay, I finally made it to the bottom. All righty, let's get back to you. I'm going to open up my computer and notes back again because I had some more notes. Jack with Milmar just joined. So let's kind of, okay, let's get Bourbon & Company's question about what brand your clamps are, because that is actually more important than what I was going to ask.
Yeah, I think he asked about my clamps and if I've used an Airlex sprayer before on my cabinetry.
Okay.
Yes, both those. I have, Mike. Thanks for asking. He's got the same one. Okay. And yeah, messy clamps. That's what they are.
Okay. And I'm supposed to ask about your cool furniture, which I've actually reposted a couple of those. But what about your cool furniture? Is that
I don't know. I guess if you think it's cool or not, I enjoy it. it's something I can. It's a little bit of a relief to get away and make a few of those pieces every now and then if I can come across a cool slab of wood or something like that. So
yeah, it makes for some really good Instagram fodder, I'm sure. But beyond that, I mean, is there any sort of a market for it? Do you see that as a profit center company, or is it just a purely thing?
I've made a few of them. I've had a few customers that they actually pay what it's worth. Like those two olive burl tables that I had made. You may have reposted one of them or not, but
I did.
They went. I had 6,500 for one of those and $5,000 for the others. So yeah, that makes it worth it. That's fun, but it's got to be to the right person. Otherwise, Etsy's full of furniture to buy for a good price.
Yeah. That's interesting. So it's not necessarily something that you're pursuing and trying to develop that side of the.
No, there's the money for that compared to doing remodeling it doesn't compare. No.
Right. I was trying to see if I could like a comment on here, so I don't have to every time I see a comment show up, call them out by name. But Renee, yeah, I bet his sister didn't pay full price.
She probably didn't pay for it at all. No.
So what about, that's a good segue into that. You said that's not really a side of the company you're looking to grow. What do you see for Crossgrain in the future? What's the dream? What's the hope? Where do you want to go? Are you exactly where you want to be right now?
I'm definitely happy with what I'm doing right now. I still like to go to work every day and try to put your heart and soul in everything you do. But honestly, my biggest goal would be to find somebody I can hire a young guy to help out. Because like I said, it's just me and cabinet installs. You certainly can do it all the time. I mean, look, but it just gets old. It gets old carrying tools in and out of the house and stuff. So if I could actually have a guy a young kid that gave a shit about what he did and wanted to learn, man, that would be awesome.
Yeah. I would think that your Instagram presence would probably be a good place to start with that as far as recruiting for that. I could be wrong, but you've got a pretty decent following now, and I would think that would attract some interested people.
I've never even put an offer out there to say I was looking for help, but if somebody's watching this now, then there you go.
Yeah.
But
one of these 21 people. Yeah.
I may get into that one day.
Yeah. There was another comment back from Jack. Good help is so hard to find.
That's so true.
I would agree. That's true. I just saw. Crap. I just saw a post. I want to say it was Sean Van Dyke is going to be down in San Francisco addressing that same thing, but I could be wrong. I'm going to have to do some checking afterwards and make sure I'm right. But oh, yes, it was. So he's talking about rather than looking for skill, hiring talent or cultivating talent, I think is how it was phrased. It's a talk he's going to give. That's all I know so far. I really want to go down to San Francisco and learn more about it.
Let me know what he says. That sounds interesting.
It does.
Smart guy.
Yeah, he's a pretty bright guy. It seems like. So yeah, I wanted to go. I don't know if I'm going to do a 22-hour round trip drive down there for that at next month, but we shall see. It is one I want to get to at some point. Hopefully, he does it at like JLC Live or something.
Yeah.
It sounds like a fantastic talk. I'd really like to hear. So let's do Kugel trim and cabinets. Did I say that right? I think I did. Because it's the same question I've got right over here to ask you. How do you have time, find time, make time to run the business side of things as a one-man army. Not a band. You're a one-man army. He's in the same boat. So what's your tactic on that?
I think the biggest, if you're doing remodeling, for sure, is to have a great team of subcontractors. As long as you've had them long enough, it seems like when you call them, they'll respond. They'll get there. They'll do what you need in a timely manner. But if it's unfortunately, I've had to start over on some of them, and it seems like you're pushed to the end of the line when it comes to hey, can you come help me? Sorry, this is so quick, but in the next couple of days we're going to do a job. Most all my guys that work with me, they'll help me out. So that's a big plus, is to have some great subcontractors on your side. As far as and being able to hire somebody to help you, always have a few people that you can call on. I've got a few good friends that they drop everything and help me, and I'll do the same thing for them. They're one guy shows too. So that's another good thing, is to have some good help that you can call on.
Yeah, some good working relationships.
And not make too many promises in advance. I'd gotten to that earlier in the year when I made too many promises and things got in a bind, but things are smoothing out now, and just either they'll wait or don't do it. You don't want to make them mad and tell them you can be there and you don't end up being there. So I think just being able to schedule is a huge help to be able to keep everything smooth.
Mm-hmm. Dustin's assuming that you have an identical twin, or he's asking if you do. I would. My question towards that would actually be more about the system side of things and software programs, that kind of stuff. How do you manage both? The shop stuff probably is fairly easy to manage, the bookwork and that end of things, but I have a glimpse into what the bookkeeping and back end of a remodeling company is, and I don't know that I'd ever try to do it as a one-man band. It seems daunting to tackle that. So I'm curious, do you subcontract out, or do you hire out the bookkeeping and the accounting and that kind of stuff, or do you manage all that yourself?
I have no accountant other than to file my taxes at the end of the year. I don't have anybody. I just shovel all my receipts to, and they keep track of everything. That's something I religiously do every day. When I get home, I write everything down for the day. I file all of my receipts away where they go, and material tickets for the jobs. And I make a habit of doing that every day. I don't have anybody that answers phone calls for me or types up bids or sends them out, anything like that. It's just, I don't know. I guess you find time throughout the day to answer people's questions while you're working too.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy.
That just blows me away, honestly. I just, because that's not me at all. That kind of discipline is not me. It takes some real cultivating to get me disciplined on any small task. That would be some serious organizational skills to do that. That's impressive. And I would picture that that's a high bar to set for anybody else you want to drag on board with you.
Yeah, that's what my wife says. She says, that there's no one probably wants to really work with you. I'm a bit picky. I'm a bit organized,
Mm-hmm.
And that poses a problem, I guess.
It's not a bad problem at all, but I'm sure it'd be a challenge. And
poses a problem for the new hire, definitely
Yeah.
not for me. It works and keeps everything flowing, but
yeah. So is that just a personality thing? Like, you've always been that way, or is that something you've developed?
I think I picked up pretty much all that from my dad.
Mm-hmm.
He was super organized, super hard worker, and I definitely picked up on all those traits for sure. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just being organized is the only way you're going to be able to make it with being one guy. I just end of story.
You're so organized. Your extension cords are trained to roll themselves.
There's a few of them. Yeah.
There should start being like a whole series of like Chuck Norris jokes, but Matt Weber jokes and how organized you are. Somebody start that somewhere.
Yeah, all the hecklers are coming out now.
They're all sitting in Dustin's living room, jiving off each other.
Yeah, eating Kit Kats and drinking his beer, right?
So, I'm curious about the kind of that you said you did a lot of foundations. Is that something you still do, or was that just kind of in the last go round with your dad?
No, that was near the end. We sold all the forms that we had, and no, I haven't done a foundation since, and I don't mind it.
Yeah.
To be able to do that, you got to have, he had usually 4 to 5 guys working with us as well, so that made it a lot easier. But it's definitely wouldn't work for me and what I'm doing right now.
Right. So that's interesting. So there's a few guys, you for instance, Tyler with TRG. I'm trying to think off the top of my head a few other guys that have that kind of one-man band mentality that just is fascinating to me. Not because it's something I want to do necessarily even, but because it's a business model that I tried for a while and it didn't work for me at all. I think it's a personality thing, honestly. It wasn't a good fit for me. I work a whole lot better. I guess I must just be a better delegator than craftsman, by whatever metric. But it's always interesting to me to see guys that are able to do that and make it profitable and grow a business, grow a reputation.
Yeah, I mean,
based on that business model.
It's working. It's profitable, but if I hired guys, would I make more money? Yes. I know for a fact I could, but I think more than that, I'm worried that either it's going to take a long time to find the right guy, or I'm going to hire those guys. They're going to go in and make a mess in a homeowner's house when I'm not there. There's a huge amount of worry on my plate as far as the right person. I take a huge amount of pride in making sure dust protection and air quality in the home is good, and cleanliness at the end of the day. Like, they're going to be able to walk through their area that we demoed in their socks and bare feet when I leave at the end of the day. I'm worried that that's not going to happen unless I'm there. So
yeah, it's a real concern. Yeah, valid concern. Yeah, because we certainly have had to put systems and rules and regulations in place to make sure that that's how our jobs are. So yeah, it's not that's not a real thing.
Yeah, Kugel trim and cabinets. You got to be a little crazy.
That's the truth.
So.
Yeah. So, would you? So you said what your mix is for remodel to cabinetry. If you could pick one or the other, which would it be? Is that a thing that you've thought of? Just full-time cabinet shop, just general contractor?
I think if it were maybe custom, just real custom items and furniture or built-ins, over full kitchen builds. Honestly, I don't enjoy building full kitchens.
Interesting.
It bores the hell out of me. It feels like a factory. In fact, I've mentioned it to a couple of my friends that last one I did was, I felt like that I wanted that to be the last kitchen I built. It's not that I can't do it or it's too hard. It's just I guess it's just 5 to 6 weeks of just monotony that drives me crazy. I like to be doing something different every week. So I guess I'd have to say, if I had to choose between cabinetry and remodeling, I'd probably go to the remodeling side. And, that's usually has the most surprises.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Interesting. So let me hit CMQ's comment about in order to grow, you have to be able to delegate responsibilities and have faith in your team. I think that's pretty succinct. That's feels about right. And I think that's just like anything else, it's an acquired skill. It takes a bit.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely wasn't a problem when I worked with my dad, and we had, we were a big company, 4 or 5 guys. It wasn't a big deal at all to delegate. That's definitely not the problem. Having a team right now is my problem. So
yeah.
I have to agree with half of that.
Have to have a team. Yeah. There's Dustin's comment right there. First, you have to have.
Yep.
Yeah. He's just Johnny on the spot with the answers today.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it sounds like you've got all your systems in place to manage and stuff. Is that all stuff you've developed yourself, like as far as all your accounting practices and organization and filing and stuff, or is there programs or classes you've been through, and QuickBooks classes, or whatever you do with your accounting stuff?
I don't use QuickBooks. I've never done any classes on on scheduling or keeping my books straight from anyone. Surprisingly, all my information from job to job is all handwritten down in a folder. I have a folder for each job, and hours and numbers and all that. It's all handwritten down in there. Obviously, I bill. I send them on an email and stuff like that. But it's just on the fly. It works best for me to do it that way.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking for some system in the background that's running all this for you. Just hoping I'm going to find one, because I don't want to accept the fact that you are actually Superman and just doing this all by yourself.
No, I wouldn't call me Superman by any means. I mean, long story short, it doesn't take much to keep one guy busy. So I don't have to have 5 jobs going on like a lot of the big guys do. 2 jobs going on at one time is plenty for me, and that's how it works. So it's I don't have to. It doesn't produce a crazy amount of paperwork. Being said.
I suppose it's interesting because like I said, and I don't know how much of our day-to-day stuff you followed, but it's a very different business model than the one we have, and it's fascinating to me. I love digging into somebody else's business and kind of tactics and hearing about it, because it's just interesting to me to dig into other company.
That's cool. Ask away. That's why we're here.
So how do you go about all your pricing and estimating type stuff? Because I don't want to come across the wrong way that you're it might be the wrong connotation that you're a small town outfit, but that's a much more personal touch, I would say, probably is what the clients that you're going after are looking for. Because they're not buying from a company, they're buying from Crossgrain, but realistically they're buying from Matt. They're buying the experience of working with you specifically as a person, as opposed to much larger companies where it's the company name and the Google reviews that they're after, and this team to come in and do their thing. So how do you go about marketing that? Where does your work come from, and how do you continue to develop that? Is it all referrals, or
I would say I was trying to think about this earlier today. I figured you'd probably ask. I'm going to go with probably 85% of everything I do is from referrals from past clients, and that's just how it rolls. I probably get 10% of my calls per year from, or maybe a little less, from House. That's probably the better of the media sites, and the rest from, you know, Instagram or Facebook, which is a very small amount. I hardly get really anything. I really send people there to more or less look at the portfolio, you know, just to show them what I do. So that it really is not a huge job generator at all for me. So referrals are definitely where it's at.
Interesting. And if you're going to base the company off of referrals, it all just comes down to attention to detail and customer satisfaction, which is actually what somebody just said here in a comment. So that's, let me make sure I got all the comments that we've gotten here recently. So,
yeah.
What area are you in? You're in Missouri, aren't you?
Yeah, I am about an hour west of St. Louis, just outside of the city.
Okay.
So in a
do
little
you
town called Union.
And do you stay in that town and rural area alone, or are you into St. Louis much?
I've worked in this town a couple times, and it was just for the two owners of the lumber yard I go to at their house. Otherwise, I'm in St. Louis, in some very, very nice areas of St. Louis. So it's usually a 30 to 45 minute commute one way to all of my job sites and houses I go to.
Yeah. So how did you get to be so tight with Dustin? Or are you tight with him, or is he just a raving fan?
He's a groupie.
Groupie? Screaming Matt from the crowd? Yeah.
No, you know what? I just started talking to him after he did a giveaway, I think last year with something, and I won it from him, and we've been kind of talking ever since. He's a good guy.
Yeah. He is. I assume so. I've still not met him, but I had him on, so and enjoyed our conversation. Messaged him back and forth here and there. So I was, for some reason, I was just assuming you guys were, you know, locals and knew each other personally or work relationship.
He's in Texas somewhere. I don't know where, but
somewhere in Texas. Just another Instagram connection. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's been so fun. Like, check flights to Washington. You do that. Hey, get out here. Anybody who wants to come out here, I'll buy you a cup of coffee. You thought I was going to come up with something good, but it's just a cup of coffee. I'll get you a cup of coffee. It's been so much fun to you just come. The connections I've made from Instagram over the last year or so, it's just been a blast. And it's changed our business drastically too. I really believe that. Sometimes it's not easy to really measure how that happens, but you know, the different materials and tactics and installation stuff that we've done.
Definitely neat to see what other guys are doing across the United States and how they do it and what they use. It's definitely been an eye opener for sure. Not to mention you get to know the guys, and you know, you can message them and bounce ideas off of them, or they'll tell you what they think about something you did, and it's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. I'm catching Stellar Designs comment here. They always leave for a buck or do something ridiculous like tape up 3 out of 4 sides of a zip wall.
He's, I guess, referring to the not good enough employee.
Yes, that would be that would definitely be a not good enough employee. 3 out of 4 sides on a zip wall is going to cut it. Yep. Hey, I understand, and that's not, you know, it's not like we have a huge workforce either. We've got one fantastic production lead guy, who's moving up in the company and is going to continue to. I mean, as long as he's around here, he's got not just a place, but I mean, we want to bring him up in the company, you know? And I think that's kind of what it has to be in order to attract and keep anybody worth their salt. There's got to be not just a carrot dangle in front of them, but like a real piece of the pie.
So are they employees, or do you pay them as subcontractors?
Employees. So
Okay.
that's a sticky thing around here in Washington. The Washington Department of Labor and Industries is really fussy about that. There's some pretty strict rules about how a subcontractor and an employee are defined, and we'd never be able to function with them with Josh, our main guy, as a subcontractor. You have to have very little communication with your subs, actually, interestingly enough. Like, you can't actually direct them to do something. Like, you can hand them a set of plans, tell them how you want it to go, then you just got to walk off the site. You can't actually it's pretty ridiculous.
That
What they
sounds
want.
like anything that happens here.
Yeah, there's other parts of the country where, you know, a work crew will have a whole series of subcontractors. They do their taxes differently. It's fine. It's a good way to go. But a lot of guys around here were just using it as an excuse not to wear, you know, fall protection, basically, is what it was. If they're paying their own way with Labor and Industries, they could abide by their own rules. So yeah, they're paid Josh is paid as an employee.
Gotcha.
But yeah, he's got and then we do have one other apprentice that's fantastic as well. But that's it. You know, like I said, it's not a big workforce, and we hit the jackpot with them too. I mean, they're both fantastic guys. So I really don't know that much about recruiting guys. We just kind of stumbled into them. So it's not that we're doing something right necessarily.
Maybe I'll figure that out one day myself.
Yeah, I think it actually has a lot more to do with being prepared for it, whether it's this year or next year, being ready to just take the opportunity when it comes. And that's kind of what it was for us. Josh happened to be available, and we figured out a way to put him to work right then and there, and built a relationship from there.
Right on.
Less about, we weren't necessarily physically looking for a guy, and he stumbled into the door. You know, he was available, and we figured out a way to keep him busy. So
What's next?
What's next is kind of wrap up and final thoughts, is actually, because like I said in one of the other ones, I'm trying to keep these to under an hour just to keep our YouTube content watchable.
Sure.
45 to an hour. So the other thing is I'm flush out of questions. So anybody else, if you've got some questions, go for it. But otherwise, we're going to kind of dial it back and wrap it up.
Yeah, I'm trying to scroll back. I don't really see anything else.
Yeah. Okay. So here's something. I don't know if I'm going to who I'm going to loop in on this, but I need to start reaching out to some guys, because there's yet another question. How does a company not pulling guys from a union pool find good help? All I hear on the jobs is good help is hard to find. Man, I'm going to do some digging here this next week and see if I can get somebody on a live video that can start maybe speaking to that a little bit, because it has been, I don't know how many of these live videos in a row we've done now that's the question that keeps popping up. I mean, I think it's pretty common knowledge that's like the big concern right now is finding decent help. And
it seems like if they don't have a job, or they're slow where they're at, like, they must be doing something wrong anyway. I mean, everybody's busy, so
yeah.
You got somebody looking for a job, that scares me too. Like, why are you not working somewhere?
Right. So I should I'm going to do a little bit of digging. I don't have the answer to that question. I honestly don't. But I want to do some digging and see who I can talk to that might have that answer and see if I can get them on. And then we'll go from there, see what they have to say. And then hopefully people will implement it and it'll work. Or if it doesn't, Dustin's trying to hire you and he's located in Texas.
He'll only pay me as a subcontractor. He won't hire me as an employee. He already told me that. So.
Okay. Yeah. Full benefits and everything. That should be the demand. Yeah. Okay. So that looks like we hit the end of our questions. Like I said, it was a real pleasure. What am I doing? That's like the third time I've flipped this thing around. Salary. What kind of salary, Dustin? Because salary doesn't really mean much. So anyway, thank you for coming on, Matt. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me.
Of course. Easy. I'm going to probably come up with a bunch of questions after I get off for you too. And I'm just going to start shooting you messages over the next week. I always do that with people that I have on over the next week. I keep pestering them with more questions long after the hour you committed to answering my questions. But I'm
no worries at all.
All right, cool. Yeah, I appreciate it. If anybody else has any questions, go for it. Otherwise, we're going to button it up and sign off. Hey, Stellar Designs, thanks for coming on. Dustin, thank you. Renee, CMQ, everybody that was commenting, appreciate it.
All your wonderful comments. I appreciate it, guys.
Comments, heckles, whatever you got, we appreciate them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody, have a great week. And always reach out. I'm always excited when I see some DMs come in. So seriously, don't ever feel like you're pestering me. Reach out. I'm always happy to talk. So thank you, Matt. Appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks a lot.